Hello and welcome to the National League Rugby Preview Show, this bonus bumper edition in association with Talking Rugby Union this week. Well, after a stuttering start to January, the last 2 weeks have certainly made up for it with outstanding results, late heroics and thrilling finishes, and round 17 had that in bucket loads last week. An absolutely fabulous round of action, and we will be reviewing some of the main talking points from last weekend, as well as looking ahead to the 17 matches that are taking place this coming Saturday on what is classed as a reserve weekend in National League Rugby. Now, a large bulk of the games that are taking place on Saturday were postponed at the start of December and at the start of January as well. But what it does mean is we've got plenty to get stuck into as January draws to a conclusion and we really start to get into the final third of this campaign. But before all of that, a big thanks to both Dorking and Taunton, who we featured on last week's show. Thank you to them for all of their support and help around it as well. And included in the Taunton feature in particular was an insert from Exeter Chiefs Director of Rugby, Rob Baxter, who very much believed in the importance of National League Rugby and what it can do for the Chiefs' young players and how that can benefit the young players themselves in terms of valuable game time and experiences, and also how it can benefit a National 1 and National 2 club, as well as Exeter Chiefs themselves. So it was really good to hear from Rob Baxter last week, and a big thanks again to Exeter Chiefs for organising that for us. And if you did miss that interview, if you did miss the Taunton feature, it is available to watch back on our YouTube channel, as is last week's show. So don't forget to like and share all of our content on our YouTube channel, and also don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you feel inclined to. It is absolutely free to do, but it does help to promote National League Rugby that little bit more. So on to this week's show, where both of our feature clubs actually come from the northwest this week. Later on, we'll be hearing from Chester as they celebrate their centenary season in National 2 North. And before that, we are with National 1 Sale FC, who arguably picked up the result of the round in round 17 last time out. A brilliant victory for them. And we also heard from Sale FC Director Rugby Jonathan Keep and head coach Anthony Howcroft about FC's relationship with Sale Sharks. So linking it a little bit to last week's show with Taunton and Exeter Chiefs, but the relationship with FC and Sale Sharks absolutely came to the fore in Sale FC's victory last weekend. And just like magic, let's get straight into National 1 then, and the show itself, which was recorded earlier this week. Well, there were some significant results at both ends of the National 1 table in round 17, not least at the summit, where title candidates Richmond were knocked off top spot. Now, they travelled to a Sale FC side who were winless in 6 going into last weekend, but a brilliant second half display, which included a hat-trick from Sale Sharks youngster Alfie Longstaff, saw Richmond fall to a 32-18 loss at Haywood Road. A brilliant result and a brilliant victory for Sale FC, and arguably one of their finest results in a fair while, after Jonathan Keep's side came back from 18-17 down at half-time to claim this welcome win. From a Richmond perspective, it was a reshuffled side again for Rob Powell, but the bigger picture is they've now lost 2 of their last 3 games in National 1 and have failed to pick up bonus points in either of those matches, and it has meant the title rivals Rams have taken full advantage as they recorded a 36-19 bonus point success against Leicester Lions last time out to move to the top of National 1. Now, Seb Reynolds' side were 12-0 down early on against Leicester Lions, but they fought back to level things up at 12-all at the break before going on to claim their 3rd victory in a row. And how things can change from Rams' point of view. If you cast your mind back to just before Christmas, they had actually lost 3 games in a row against their fellow top 4 counterparts in Richmond, Rotherham and Roslyn Park. But now their current run of form has seen them move 4 points clear at the top of National 1 as we begin the final third of the season. So the dynamic has changed in the title race once again. At the other end of the standings, Esher gave their hopes of staying in National 1 a bit of a boost last time out with a brilliant 54-42 victory over fourth placed Roslin Park. Quite the way for Peter Winterbottom's side to end the 4-game run without a win. And yes, they conceded 4 tries in the first half at Molesey Road against Roslin Park. But what Esher have had in their locker this season is the ability to score points and the ability to score tries. And that is exactly what they did last Saturday. They did lead 42-28 at one stage. Their lead was cut to 5 points with 4 minutes to go before Owen Waters' try sealed the deal for the E's and sealed a very, very good victory for Esher. And that win means they have leapfrogged Leicester Lions up to 12th place in the National 1 standings, whilst Sedgley Park, who sit in 10th position, continued their upward progress. It's now 1 defeat in the last 6 games for Scott Barrow's troops as they beat Bishop Stortford 22-19 away from home last Saturday. And at the top then, confirmation that Rams now hold a 4-point lead over Richmond, while Rotherham Titans are level with Richmond following 8 wins from their last 9 games. A powerful display away at Dean's Crusaders, who've been pretty strong at home this term, earned the Titans a 45-26 victory. And Rotherham boss Harvey Billion told the Yorkshire Post last week that title talk wasn't on their agenda, but you have to say they are firmly in the mix with Rams and Richmond as we enter February this weekend. And speaking of both Rams and Richmond, they are in action this coming Saturday, with Rams travelling to Sale FC, and Sale FC are actually our first feature club of the week on the National League Rugby Preview Show. And it was, of course, we've highlighted that fabulous win that Sale FC picked up last weekend against Richmond, and it's given them a little bit of a buffer between themselves and the teams below them in the standings. But the 11th place side felt that kind of performance and victory that they earned against Richmond was just around the corner. They may have felt that against Rotherham Titans in round 16, where they put in a really good display away from home. But that win against Richmond will hopefully, from their perspective, give them the platform to build into the next block of fixtures, which Sale FC have. And that begins this weekend against the new league leaders Rams in the Northwest. Now, Sale have been a bit of a thorn in Ramsey's side in recent years, with Sale winning the last 3 meetings between the teams at Hayward Road. And if you remember, in the 2022-23 campaign, both Sale FC and Rams were involved in that epic title race with Cambridge. So they have had some really big clashes in recent times. But the most recent meeting back in September went the way of Rams, who beat Sale 33-0 at Old Bath Road. But what is guaranteed is that Rams and Sale always serve up cracking contests. So to build up to the latest instalment as Sale FC versus Rams, we caught up with Sale Director of Rugby Jonathan Keep and Head Coach Anthony Howcroft. And Jonathan, just to start with you, and I think there's only really one place to start, and that is that result last weekend for you guys over Richmond, that 32-18 victory at Hayward Road. And I know you said on Sunday that the lads really deserved that one after some narrow losses during the difficult run you had been on. So how delighted was everyone come full time to get that victory, and in the manner that you achieved it as well?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of a weight off our shoulders, to be honest, in terms of waiting for that victory. Like you said, we've had a few close losses over the last sort of month or two that could have really gone either way. And yeah, there was definitely a bit of relief there for all concerned, but the players thoroughly deserved that one. I mean, they've been putting in a lot of hard work in the background, as all sides do, and all players do in this league, you know, and yeah, it was much deserved. And you know, we managed to right a few wrongs that we'd been sort of getting wrong in previous games. That meant that we've not quite got the result, but no, the team really sort of stuck at it this week, and yeah, we got the 5 points, which was very pleasing.
When you look back and reflect back, it's almost surprising in terms of how long that losing run went on, because there were times when it didn't feel like we were in those sort of depths, but and the performances were good, or we were good for 60 minutes, and for different reasons, different weeks, the actual result was getting away from us. The performances have been there quite a lot, and it's just been one element, or it could be just a sort of a changing point in the game that's not quite gone our way, or a breakaway try, and I think that it felt Rotherham. It's never nice to lose, but it came away feeling like, yeah, we've got the defeat, but it doesn't quite feel like that. We've got the performance, we've got the sort of spirit within the side, and then this week we were able to actually put on, which was probably our most complete performance of the season, and do that for 80 minutes. So now it's we're in a tough run of games, and we're in a tough situation this season. We're effectively playing the top three sides 3 weeks in a row with Rotherham, Richmond, and Rams, and now we're playing top of the league last week in Richmond, and now as a consequence of the result, we're playing top of the league again this week. So we know that we're in a real challenging part of the season. So it's good to get the points last week, and then gives us a lot of a building block for this week.
And I guess as well, Jonathan, when you do get a result like that, it just shows how capable this Sale FC side is, doesn't it? Because people who follow National One will know they've seen you towards the top of the table, and those really close fights with Coldy and Rams and Cambridge as well. So even though maybe the last season and a half hasn't followed suit in that manner, Saturday's result just goes to show that Sale FC are more than capable of climbing this table.
Absolutely. I think sometimes you can sit there scratching your head and not quite understand it yourselves, really. And it does take a little bit of time as a coaching setup, and for us to understand that and to be able to put that across to the players, for them to understand it as well. So sometimes these are a bit cyclical, aren't they? And we'll touch on things, I'm sure, later about our relationship with Sharks, and that's a cyclical cycle as well in terms of how that works. And some players move on, and you just got to try and find the best sort of within your squad in terms of recruitment and making sure that you're planning ahead, and really looking at that at an early stage as to what you're going to be needing. So I think we certainly recruited well in the summer, but that comes with its own sort of, I won't say pitfalls, but work-ons in terms of making sure that they fully integrate into the side, and that can take a season. It can take 2 seasons, and I think where we are at the minute, we feel we've got the squad that's capable of pushing and being fighting up towards the top of this league, which is shown by the result on Saturday. But yeah, I think it just shows that we have the capability, and we've just got to align that with our full intent to really push on now.
Yeah, and that challenge, Anthony, I know you and Jonathan, if I'm right in saying, have been at the club since the level 7 days, sort of 12, 13 years ago. So I guess that challenge is always new every year, and striking that balance, as Jonathan said there, is absolutely key to the club taking strides forward, which we've obviously seen since you guys took over.
Yeah, I think, like I say, it seems like a long time. I think I've aged a bit in those 12 years. Still didn't have hair back then, though. So, but keeping it fresh and keeping everything hungry was probably easier in the earlier days, because we were getting lots of success, and you're always going to, we were going up through the leagues, and we've reached level 3 from level 7, like we said, and then obviously been really close to getting into level 2 by 1 bonus point in any one of 4 games that season. That's how fine the margins were. I think now, and up until last season was the first season we'd never actually stepped forward every single season, whether that just be in league positions in the league or we've gone into the next league. So I think for us, it's been probably the last couple of years the most challenging. So yeah, it has been a bit of a head scratch, and we've sort of looked at everything across the board and how we approach it, and player recruitment. And I think part of it is it is harder in the northwest potentially than the clubs in the south. That the talent pool is definitely smaller, and that's not, there's lots of brilliant players come out of the northwest that represent in the Premiership and England, as we know. But I think in terms of, within an hour's journey time, you're not getting particularly very far, because of especially the transport infrastructure that we don't have as well up here as you do in the south. So I think that, we've always got to be at the top, trying to get the best players that are available in the northwest to us. And over the years, we're competing with Coldy, with Sedgley. You've got Lim coming up really strong behind us. So the pool is definitely smaller. So I think constantly going forward. We've been pretty good at attracting the best, some of the better players in the Northwest. We've got really good infrastructure, good facilities, and we hope that the environment is welcoming and it's an environment people want to join. But yeah, it's the challenge that everyone's got. Going back to football, you look at Man United in the time with Ferguson. That's a real example of looks from the outside they keep getting success every year, but the amount of work that has to go into that, it shows you now what a phenomenal feat that is. To maintain those successes is difficult.
No, really well put there, Anthony. And I guess something that has been kind of a growing or maybe even a constant thing during the time you and Jonathan have been at the club is that kind of relationship you guys have had with Sale Sharks. And you quite rightly mentioned there, Anthony, there are so many Northwest clubs who seem to be heading in the right direction. Obviously, Caldy have done so well in the Championship. Lim second, joint top at the moment in National 2 North. You and Sedge in National 1 as well. So how important do the club see that relationship with Sale Sharks? Because listen to Alex Sanderson talk about it. He puts so much importance on these local clubs in the Northwest and these young players developing within kind of the infrastructure you talked about before.
Yeah, I think it's important for all the clubs in the Northwest, and there's only, and I think rugby across the board, there's participation has dropped, as we know, and there's what the sport needs is all the good players playing every week, and the game can't really afford to have too many players sat on the sidelines not playing, whether that be from Premiership all the way down. So yeah, our relationship with Sharks, like Caldy, Sedgley, Filed, but the Lim, they're all working with Sharks and utilising the dual registration. For us, can I speak for the way we operate it? It's what we require from that player is that they give full buy-in to our environment that we're in. So yes, they may be contracted in Sharks, and there's the odd time where if they've had a full day there, there's limitations on maybe some of the training that they can do on a Tuesday, for example. But what we require from them is full buy-in into our squad, and we try and work with Sharks early in the season to get an idea of what players will be available for the majority of the season. Obviously, then you have your Prem Cup, and you pretend if they're successful, you get England and 20s called up. But it's been proven, and we've worked with it for sort of nearly 12 years now. And I think when you get it right, it can be beneficial for the Premiership club, the National League club, and importantly the player and their progression. It gets them playing week in rugby, week in, week out. It gets them battle hardened for the realities of playing week in, week out at the top level, and it helps them grow and develop the skills that they need, so that then when they get the opportunity, they are match ready. And we were looking at it last week. I think we've had 9 players that have played for Sale FC that have gone on to make full international appearances for England and Scotland, and that is just that's great for us that we've had those quality players come through. Good that we've been able to help them and they've been able to help us.
Yeah, it only strengthens our game 100%, and I think that making sure that they get that equal opportunity to be able to push forward, it's only going to grow and benefit our game and make it stronger. And it sort of goes, it comes from the other way as well, in terms of, yes, we might have some of these academy players coming in, but it also helps to sort of increase our sort of, our performances on the field, in terms of then growing the game and attracting more people to come and watch the game, get them down to Haywood Road and other clubs across the country. So I think all in all, it's great to have those players around, and that we can play a bit of a part in their sort of development as well.
On to Saturday now, Jonathan, if you don't mind. And I know, looking at the kind of fixtures last night, that it's only been 6 home games that you've played this season. And I think Anthony touched on it before, kind of the block of, or the run you've got coming up now. I think it's 5 of the next 8 are at Haywood Road. So I bet you're glad to be back at home this weekend. And I guess the place will be absolutely buzzing after last weekend's result against Richmond.
Absolutely, yeah. It felt like we hadn't been at home for some time when we played on Saturday. So no, it was great to be back there. And now we can, try and fill Haywood Road, get as many people down there as we can do, and no better place to start than against Rams, who we've always had fantastic fixtures against. I think earlier in the season, we had a slightly uncharacteristic game in terms of we got nilled. It's not very many of those that we've come across over the years. But all credit to Rams, they're a quality side, aren't they? And they've been up there for the last 3-4 seasons, challenging for that promotion to the championship. So, they come to us top of the table. So now we're really, really looking forward to it, and it always brings out the best in our squad, generally, apart from earlier this season. So, no, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and just on kind of that kind of coming up against Rams, Anthony, as Jonathan said there, it kind of brings the best out of you and your squad. And I'm kind of one for stats on this show, and I like looking past the past meetings. But I think you guys have won 6 of the last 8 against Rams since you've been in the same league, and I think you've got a pretty decent record against them at home as well. When you have been going for those titles, you have been able to get the upper hand, and we all know on this call that Rams are a quality side, don't we? But you have been able to be a thorn in their side over the last few years. So does that come into your thinking as coaches going into this week that you have had the upper hand in that way, or do you kind of have to part that a little bit and treat it as another game?
I think, I think realistically we're in a different place to where we've been with previous encounters. So last season, the 2 seasons before, we were huge title contenders. So it was huge. I think we're probably not so much on their radar in terms of we're down at the bottom. We've been sort of fighting towards the bottom end of the league the last couple of years. It's nice that we've got a record like that, but that's all history. And at the moment, we're going into it off the back of a 33-0 loss away from home. I mean, the bus did set on fire on the way there, so we're not making excuses, but it was a bit of a strange day. And even in that game, it was actually quite tight. Apart from, it was a 15-minute period either side of half time where Rams blew us away, and outside of that sort of 15-20 period, there wasn't any points scored. But yeah, they are a quality side, and they've been able to maintain that they've been fighting at the top 3 years in a row now, and as we found, that third year was difficult, and this year they've continued that, so they keep refreshing. We know a lot thereabouts of our past encounters, but we've got to focus on ourselves. We've got to keep layering on from the successes we've had over the last couple of weeks in the games and the performances, and not going away from the things that have been working, and just layer little bits on top as we go forward. So yeah, it's past is definitely the past with this. We are in a situation where we're fighting for points, and they're fighting at the top. So I think it's going to be another great day down at Hayward Road, and hopefully a great battle between 2 sides who've got some good history.
A massive thanks then to both Jonathan and Anthony for their time there. Fascinating to hear how the club have looked to adapt and evolve over the last couple of seasons, because, their league finishes, their league positions over the last couple of seasons haven't been where Sale FC would probably have liked to be, given they were challenging for the title a few years ago. But results like last Saturday against Richmond show Sale FC are more than capable of climbing the league ladder in the second half of the season. And really nice as well to hear the continued relationship Sale FC have with Sale Sharks, which allows emerging talents like Alfie Longstaff, who shone so brightly last weekend for Sale FC against Richmond, with the opportunity to gain valuable game time, valuable experiences, and also to hone his skills at a good level like National 1 and in National League Rugby. And of course, Sale FC and Rams should be a brilliant contest on Saturday. And at the time of recording, the pre-match lunch is nearly sold out. So that tells you all you need to know about the excitement and the fervour around this one on Saturday afternoon. So if you are thinking about heading down to Hayward Road, we'd absolutely urge you to, because it is certainly one of the standout games we have across National 1 and National 2 on this reserve weekend. But in terms of National 1, there are 3 other fixtures alongside Rams and Sale FC, including one of Rams' title rivals, Richmond, who travel to bottom of the table, Darlington Moden Park. Now, Richmond, of course, will want a reaction in the northeast, while DMP's round 17 clash last week against Blackheath was called off due to a frozen pitch. Elsewhere, 7th place Birmingham Moseley welcome Esher to the Midlands. We've seen some tight encounters at Billsley Common this season, and Adam Balding's side were on the wrong end of one last week against Plymouth Albion as they lost 33-32. So Birmingham Moseley will be aiming for a response on Saturday. And the aforementioned Plymouth Albion, who are up to 5th after making it 5 wins in a row with that win against Birmingham Moseley. They'll be aiming to extend their purple patch of form when they go up against a Leicester Lions side who will be aiming to halt a 4-game winless run. So, like last week, we begin National 2 in National 2 East, where late drama was the order of the day in round 17. Now, league leaders Tunbridge Judians weren't in action after their meeting with Guernsey Raiders was postponed, so it opened the door for one of their fellow title candidates to potentially close the gap. But in the case of third place Dorking, they weren't able to do so. Their promotion ambitions were dented at home to Henley Hawks after Max Titchener's late penalty clinched a 23-22 victory for the visitors. Now, Henley boss Luke Allen was full of praise for his side after this one, after they led 20-12 at half-time. They saw that lead disappear when Henry Anscombe landed a penalty for Dorking and Tom House scooted over for a converted try on 74 minutes. But an excellent day from the tee from Titchener was capped by a match-clinching penalty, but it is dented Dorking's promotion hopes because they now sit 7 points behind Tunbridge Judians, having played the same number of games. But in terms of second place Barnes, they continue to do all they can because the second place side stormed to their latest victory, a 41-19 win away at Worthing Raiders. They were 26-0 up at the break, and from then on in, it was pretty much job done for Jack Heel's side, who are now 1 point behind Tunbridge Judians, but they have played 2 more games than the table topper. So that is kind of a state of play at the top of National 2 East, which we'll come on to when we show you the table shortly. Just bringing it back to the late drama, and that happened towards the other end of the table, where 11th place Sevenoaks were at the epicentre of it because fullback Ben Adams stepped up to the plate once again for Oaks as his last-minute penalty secured a 31-29 victory over 9th placed Old Albanian. Now OAs thought they had won their 3rd game in a row as they went over for a late converted score, but the trusty boot of Adams steered Sevenoaks to an important victory for the Kent outfit, and that result leaves them 12 points clear of the danger zone, with the 2 sides directly below them in Oxford Harlequins and Colchester, both claiming bonus points in round 17. Oxford Quins did so in a 55-28 loss against an informed Westcombe Park, while Colchester scored 6 tries in their 55-24 defeat in the East Anglian derby against Bury St Edmunds, which incidentally was watched by over 800 people at Raven Park. So a good crowd for that one, and a bonus point for Colchester. To the top of the table we go, and as you can see, Barnes have turned up the heat again on Tunbridge Judians, but the leaders do have 2 games in hand over them, as we mentioned before, and as you can see, Dorking and that stay 3rd, but remain 7 points behind Tunbridge Judians, having played the same number of games, while Canterbury are very much part of the top 4 party after securing their 5th straight win in some style. They hammered having 61-5 away from home as a team who has scored the most points in the league this season showed their ruthless edge once again at Hucks Lane. A fabulous win for Canterbury, and they are one of the sides who are involved in the 4 fixtures taking place in National 2 East this weekend. And we'll start with Dorking, who have an opportunity to respond immediately at the big field when they take on Guernsey Raiders. Now, Guernsey have actually only played 14 games this season, so are now on course to play 10 consecutive matches between now and Easter. That is due to the postponements which have affected their fixtures over the last couple of months. So the Raiders will want to get some structure back to what has been a pretty positive campaign so far. Elsewhere, 5th place Westcombe Park goes to Henley Hawks following last week's success at Oxford Harlequins. Westcombe Park have won 5 games in a row with number 8 Benjamin Charnock. Excellent again for David Marshall's side. He scored a hat-trick last time out, but this week they travel to a Henley side full of confidence after their win over Dorking. Table toppers Tunbridge Julians return to action with a Kent derby against Sevenoaks. We actually featured Sevenoaks on the show when this game was originally scheduled in round 15, and the host actually go into this one after 4 wins from the last 6 matches, but the league leaders will be itching to light the fuse again on their title bid. And as we mentioned, Canterbury are firing on all cylinders at the moment, which is the last thing Worthing will want to hear going into the start of February, as the division's bottom club welcome them to West Sussex this weekend. So from the east to the west we go, and as you can see, I'm joined by a special guest for this one, none other than Camborne's Josh Matavesi, and now a familiar face to a lot of rugby fans. So Josh, thanks so much for coming on this week.
Oh, thank you very much, Chris. Thanks for having me. I know a lot of the boys here watch this as well, so it's a good programme to watch.
I appreciate it. I know we're featuring a lot of Camborne's tries recently, and I hope that's not just the reason why, Josh.
It might well be, yeah, I think.
And obviously, we can't do anything about that, and neither than Camborne, who have been one of the standout sides in National 2 West this season. And if you are part of a National 2 West team, you follow the league, you follow National League Rugby, you'll be very much aware that Josh's Camborne take on Clifton this coming Saturday in a top of the table battle, which I know we're all looking forward to. Just 4 points separate the leading pair at the moment. But Josh, before we kind of go into that game, let's look back at last weekend from a Camborne perspective and that 34-31 win away at Hornets. Now, it's not been an easy place for teams to go this year, has it, that Hornets? But to come out there with a full 5 points and a maximum, you guys must be really pleased with that.
Yeah, very pleased. And we didn't play to our full potential, which was probably the making of a good side, is that we can still able to win and not still probably be, if we're honest, probably a 6 out of 10. So we knew how hard it was going to be. We never underestimated Hornets. I did a lot of homework on them during the week prior, and at home they are such a difficult side to break down. So we knew that we're in for a hard one. We don't want to get too carried away with what's coming this week. So it was really important to get the performance this week and the result against Hornets. I don't think you can underestimate many teams in this league. Results show that pretty much everyone can beat everybody. So it's not one of those leagues where you can pick and choose where you want to win, where you can take your foot off the pedal. So this year, I think National League 2 West has probably been one of the difficult leagues, I reckon, to be in. Just with the amount of quality that's in the league, it's great. It's great for National League Rugby. It's probably just the whole experience of going to a game on the day and playing against teams that know that you're top of the table. That's really, really important, that you know what's coming. I've been in that side when Newcastle got relegated, and every week you're playing a championship side that wants to come and take your head off. They give you the best version of themselves, and I feel like that's probably where we are at the minute with Camborne. Is we're at the top of the table, we're getting the best version of every team that we're playing at the minute, and so we can't let up either. It's probably a good way of looking at it.
Yeah, and as Josh has already referenced, I'm sure Hornets felt exactly the same coming up against Camborne last Saturday, and Hinckley may well have done the same against second place Clifton, who are breathing down Camborne's necks at the moment. A club record equaling 11th win for the Lavender and Blacks on Saturday, but my goodness me, they had to dig extremely deep. They were 37-28 down with 6 minutes to go, but a penalty try and a powerful finish from winger Luke Daniels ensured that the Lavender and Blacks matched Camborne's feat of claiming a bonus point victory in round 17, but they managed to claim a 42-37 win in that one. And as you can see by looking at the table that will appear in front of myself and Josh now, that gap remains at 4 points between Camborne and Clifton going into this weekend's meeting between the leading pair. And a quick mention for Camborne's neighbours as well, Redruth, who sits 6th in the table, 1 defeat in the last 8 games for them now after beating Old Redcliffians 31-29 at the weekend. Just quickly before we bring Josh back into it, a look at the bottom half of the table. None of the bottom 4 sides collected points in round 17, but Loughborough showed their threats against Camborne the other week, and they certainly proved a tough one for Bourneville in round 17, scoring 7 unanswered tries to claim a 49-7 victory. And in terms of Hornets and Hinckley, who sit just below them in the table, both of those sides picked up a couple of points in defeat last time out, and as we mentioned, Hornets did that against Josh's Camborne. And Josh, just to kind of bring you back in to the conversation, we spoke for an article for our website in the summer of 2023 when you kind of returned home, returned to Camborne. And listening to you in the first part of this interview, you can tell you're really enjoying the experience of playing, but also the defensive coaching side of it. So how much you kind of enjoying the journey the club is on, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch as well?
It's fantastic, Chris. Is just to see the kids running out on a Sunday morning is fantastic. I do a lot of work in the schools during the week too, so trying to get participation up at grassroots level, mini and juniors, boys and girls as well is great to see. And I feel like the club on the pitch is going up, which is kind of correlation to the club doing well off the pitch. And obviously it doesn't run without its volunteers. So, our team manager, Calvin Smitheram, is an amazing guy. He puts in probably more hours doing this than he does his real job. So, it's people like that keep the club alive. So that's probably what I remember watching Calvin when I was a kid, and just how important and how much it meant to him to play for Camborne. So just trying to kind of drive that and instill that back into the club and the community. Still get that same feeling of putting the jersey on, which I don't think will ever go away. So, I've played for many, many great teams, but to put that Camborne jersey on still is a really good touch. So I'm enjoying that, and I get to see my mates, see my family more. So it's all in all good decision. I'm really proud of where the club is, and I'm proud of the people that run it.
Yeah, absolutely, Josh. And on to Saturday then. And I know you've played in big occasions, you've been part of big games, and I'm not going to sit here and compare National 2 West to playing at World Cups or in Europe or in the Premiership or anything like that, Josh. But have you got the same feeling in your stomach, same feeling this week of a big important game on the horizon?
Yeah, you can feel it. You can feel it just even after the game against Hornets on Saturday. We kind of knew what's coming up this week, but it's really important. I feel like to use our experience, we've got Carl Moyle, he played nearly 100 games for Gloucester, fullback. We've got Jack Andrews, played 12 years in Cornish Pirates. So we've got a lot of experienced players in big games. So for us, it's just we've got to do what we can do. We can only control what we can control. But what an occasion for the club, and what an occasion for the town and the league as well. It's quite nice to have a league that's quite tight. Games mean a lot. But also as well, that still a lot of rugby to be played. So, regardless of the result on Saturday, we still got loads of games to play. So it's not really a season-defining game, but it's a game that could really set the tone and give us a little bit of a gap. I know Clifton very well and watched them a lot. And, their head coach, Luke Cousins, I know very well from Bath. So I know he'll be trying to come up with a plan to try and take it away. But I know I've got a lot of faith and confidence that the home crowd that will turn up on Saturday will hopefully give them a hard time.
Yeah, no messages between yourself and Luke this week, Josh, then?
Nah, none.
Absolutely zero. And just kind of finally on Saturday, Josh, I know probably last season's results probably don't matter too much. I know Clifton did kind of get the better of you on both occasions.
Sure.
So how much would it mean to maybe avenge that loss on Saturday? But more importantly, perhaps, is really enhance the position you've created for yourselves at the top of National 2 West?
I actually went back this morning and watched the home and away game from last season just to pick up a few things, see if they were still doing the same things. But it'd be awesome. What a great journey from our point of view, that our local lads get to be top of the table, and hopefully after the end of this week we're 9 points clear. We're going to enjoy it. I think we're going to enjoy it as a group. We're going to enjoy it, win or lose. Saturday we'll probably have some beers with them as well. So as a community as well, I can feel it as well. Walking around Camborne, it's a big week. You can just sense it. People coming up, saying that they're going to be there on Saturday and looking forward to the occasion. So the club have done a real good job in promoting that and advertising that. And so have yourselves. The social media side of the game now, such a huge thing for us, especially as local clubs, grassroots clubs. It's what a way to introduce some National League rugby with big games like this. So thanks for your input as well into this.
No, I appreciate the kind words, Josh, and it's music to our ears that so many people in the Camborne area are absolutely buzzing for this game on Saturday. As Josh quite rightly mentioned before, there has been some big crowds in National 2 West this season, including actually last week at Taunton, where there was 1,260 in attendance for their game against Exeter University last Friday. And as Josh quite rightly mentions, all eyes will be on the recreation ground on Saturday when Camborne take on Clifton. Camborne also have won all 8 of their home games this season. So So it is a 2 p.m. kickoff on Saturday, a large crowd expected. So get down early, and I'm reliably informed the town bar at Camborne is open from 12 p.m. So you can really build up the excitement from lunchtime right the way through until the early hours, if that's what you want to do. I know they're showing the England-Ireland game on in the clubhouse afterwards, but quite frankly, it is a sideshow, isn't it, Josh, to Camborne versus Clifton?
Yeah, get yourselves down to the club at 12 o'clock. Get some Guinness down you.
Well, that all the Six Nations stuff pales into insignificance this weekend with such a big game in National 2 West. And just quickly before we finish, there are two other games in National 2 West to mention this weekend. On this reserve weekend, Exeter University in action after being beaten 31-23 by Taunton last week. They take on 5th place Luctonians. Exeter Uni remain 1 place and 2 points above the danger zone as things stand, and Luctonians actually going into that game targeting a 3rd win on the bounce for the first time since the start of October. And 4th place Synderford, who returned to winning ways with a 46-19 victory over Devonport Services last week. They take on Hinckley, who we touched on with Josh. Obviously they played Clifton last week and actually led 3 times, so Hinckley can absolutely take confidence into their game against a tough opposition in Synderford this weekend. So there are only 3 games in National 2 West, but plenty to look forward to, and of course, including that Camborne versus Clifton game on Saturday afternoon. Josh, it's been a pleasure to catch up with you once again. All the very best for Saturday, and more importantly, enjoy the occasion as well.
Oh, thanks, Chris. Thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
And we end this week in National 2 North, and we'll actually start by mixing it up and look at 2 teams in the bottom half of the table in the shape of Hull and Sheffield Tigers, who both picked up important wins in round 17. Now, Hull, they are up to 9th in the standings after they did the double over 5th placed Wharfdale with a 32-19 home victory. The topsy-turvy nature of Hull's season continues after their round 16 defeat to bottom 2 side Billingham. They responded by picking up this win in round 17 against Wharfdale. But the bigger picture for Hull is now they have moved themselves 8 points clear of the danger zone, and it was a strong second half showing from Hull in that one, and it was a strong overall showing at home by table rival Sheffield Tigers, who were 11th in the standings after a 19-14 victory over Chester at Door Moor. A 3rd straight home win for the Tigers, with Barney Goatley marking his 50th cap, with a decisive try for the host. Now, actually, in the reverse fixture, or after the reverse fixture between Sheffield Tigers and Chester back in November, which the Tigers lost 59-17 at Hare Lane, Tigers boss Jack Howison came out and said that it was an embarrassing performance from his side. But since then, Sheffield Tigers have really, really turned the corner and have made really positive strides. They picked up 4 wins and collected some valuable bonus points on the way as they continue their progress up the league ladder, and they'll be hoping that stays the same in the final third of this season. Onto the title race then, where the top 3 didn't have it their own way yet again. For the 2nd week running, league leaders Leeds Tights came up against a spirited Billingham side at the Sycamores. But for the 3rd time in 3 games, the league leaders scored 5 tries to earn a 33-27 victory and bonus point victory at that, whilst Billingham departed Yorkshire with a valuable bonus point. 2nd place Lim also had to fight hard against a side currently in the bottom 2 as they departed Harrogate with a 36-31 success. But managed to collect a maximum in round 17, while Sheffield saw Adam Fletcher and Andy Daly's side away themselves 19 at the start of the second half against half-time. Anthony Poser's men recovered from going 24-19 down to win 31-24 at Cross Green. So a little bit of a snapshot there of how all 3 of the main title candidates fared last time out, but it wasn't easy for all 3 of them again. But the most important thing was they all picked up bonus point victories, and it means there is still really nothing to separate them going into the start of February, with 1 point the difference between third place Sheffield and league leaders Leeds Tigers. Now, interestingly, Lim aren't in action this coming Saturday, so it'll be a watching brief for them as Leeds and Sheffield go again. Down at the bottom, the wins we mentioned for both Hull and Sheffield Tigers have created a bit of daylight between themselves and the bottom two, while just one victory from their last 8 games has seen Otley drop down to 12th in the standings. And as we have touched on, there are games in National 2 North this weekend, 6 of them to be precise, including another home fixture for 8th place Chester, who welcome table rivals Hull Ionians to Hare Lane. Now, you might be wondering why we've highlighted this game in particular, but Chester are our second feature club of the week on the National League Rugby Preview Show, but they are also celebrating their centenary season this year. Now, 2025 is officially Chester's centenary year, and they kicked off the celebrations in the perfect way possible a couple of weeks ago with a 25-19 home victory over 4th place Fylde, and of course that was under the guidance of current head coach Rhys Hayes. Now, Rhys spent 7 years as a player at Chester, and he actually won promotion with the club into National 2 back in 2013 before enjoying a brilliant time with Caldy, where he earned back-to-back promotions with the club to the Championship a few years ago. But last summer, the opportunity came up for him to effectively return home, return to Chester and return to Hare Lane when the head coach position came up. And right now, he is absolutely loving his first coaching gig in National League Rugby. And Rhys and the club themselves are excited about what the future holds for Chester. So ahead of their meeting with Hull Ionians on Saturday, we chatted to Rhys as well as Chairman Dave Maloney to discuss this as well as a special year for the club.
Yeah, Chris, it's been obviously getting the job around May, June time is a quick turnaround in terms of obviously hanging the boots up, suddenly taking on a head coach role, going back to sort of the club where it all started, men's rugby for me, and then just getting amongst it straight away. So obviously working with Dave, with Nick, DOR, Fordy, obviously runs defence and forwards, and getting understanding of what's going on at the club. So figuring out what the culture's like, what we've got, what we haven't got, some last minute recruitment, see what's left at that time of year. And then building a program and understanding what sort of identity we want as a club, as a first team, prior to starting pre-season in July. So we're really fortunate. We've got a great squad together, a really young, exciting squad. We've spoken as a club in terms of the journey and the plan that we've got over the next 2 to 3 years, as long as it goes as we hope. And we feel we've got a squad, hopefully with a few additions over the next couple of years, to really push on and kickstart our journey to establish ourselves at those top 4 spaces in that 2 and see where it goes from there. Yeah, it's been a mixed bag in terms of on the field. Obviously, you've seen the results. Home game form's been brilliant. We've put some fantastic performances in. Fylde is obviously the highlight. Week before last, securing that win and the way in which we went about securing it against a very well organised Fylde outfit. So, no, overall, really pleasing start. I'm really enjoying myself.
As soon as we found out that Rhys had put his hat in the ring for the job, for me personally, and a number of other guys who'd been around for a while, it was a bit of a no-brainer, really. And he's done a fantastic job so far. I'd echo what you said about, the results are a bit inconsistent. We're a bit Spursy, to be honest with you. I can say that with sincerity, being a Tottenham fan. We're a bit Spursy, but we've also had Tottenham's injuries this season. So I think all things considered, we've done all right. This is year one of a Project Chester. It was never going to happen overnight, but I echo what Rhys has said. I think we've got a core of exceptionally exciting young players, and we can just supplement them with a few old heads over the next season or so. Watch this space, I would say.
But you both, Dave, have talked about kind of looking to the future and watching this space with Chester. But of course, this year is such a special year for the club, isn't it? 2024-25, the centenary season for Chester. And you kicked off 2025 in the best possible way with that win against Fylde a couple of weeks ago. I know John Inverdale was there and Sir Bill Beaumont were there as well. So just tell us a little bit about sort of the journey the club has been on and why this year is so special for Chester.
Okay, just make sure your players are behind.
Yeah. Boy, just give an extra.
Okay, Johnny, happy? Andy.
And therefore, we're a kind of a rugby oasis in a city of football. And bear in mind, we're only an hour away from both Liverpool and Manchester clubs. So for us to have got to 100 years within that environment, I think is a pretty extraordinary achievement, and speaks volumes about the guys who started the club back in 1925 and the guys who had the vision, the enthusiasm and the bravery, if you like, to buy the Hare Lane ground in the late 50s, early 60s. So, you know, it's sort of due homage to those guys as well. And yeah, it's a real achievement. It's a real achievement. We're very proud of it. Very proud indeed.
And Reece, kind of bringing it back to you, we mentioned it a couple of times so far during our chat, but obviously this is kind of your club. You returned home during the summer after such a successful period with Coldy as a player. You're obviously part of the Chester side that won promotion in 2013 to this level. So when you hear kind of Dave talking about kind of a journey the club's been on, you must be immensely proud as well, and even more proud now being head coach of the club.
Yeah, I'm massively proud. I'm very lucky to be given this opportunity. I said before we went on, obviously, to be able to go full circle and go back to and try and give back to a club that's given me so much at the start of my playing career in men's rugby. And those years were absolutely fundamental to what I was able to achieve as I kicked on to Coldy and my opportunities elsewhere at Cheshire and England counties. The coaching I received, the coaches such as Chris Rose, who was integral to the success we had of getting ourselves out of National 3 into National 2. There's things there and the players around me that I learned so much and gave me those foundations to really kick on. So, like I said, to come back and give everything to this club now, I'm that type of individual. I'm all in with what I do. So I'm hoping that with the support I've got around me, we can really try and take Chester to that next level. And I believe with the people, again, with the support, the backroom staff that we've got, with the players in this squad now across the first and second team, we've got a platform now to really push ourselves as a club and see what we're capable of. So I'm really excited about this journey.
And Dave, just to come back to you, you made a really good point before, kind of at the location that Chester is in, obviously in the Cheshire area, but not too far away from your big football clubs in terms of Liverpool and Manchester. We know how mad they are in terms of the football, but in terms of the way Chester have been able to promote themselves and promote rugby in the area, we know kind of the first 15 we've talked about there, it seems to be moving in the right direction, some big plans for it over the next couple of years in terms of youth coming through. But I always see on social media like a thriving mini and junior section, and you know the women's section seems to improve in each and every year. You mentioned the facilities you've got at Hare Lane. It does feel like off the pitch, other areas of the club, you are utilising the location the best you can, and that can only generate interest and maybe even sponsorship as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think that the trick here is getting people through the gate in the first place, because once you've done that and they have a look around and they sample what we're about, then invariably a good percentage of them stay and come again. The challenge we've got in this football-centric city is getting people through the gate in the first place. But as you say, we do have a very thriving junior side section, which we've had for a number of years now. The women's section is growing exponentially as well. And that, as you say, quite rightly, that does attract additional interest and additional support. Having said that, we can never have too much sponsorship support. And I'm always open for a phone call or an email. But yeah, generally speaking, I think we're pretty pleased with the place we're in. We're in a good place to kick on and off the field. I guess it's up to the likes of me and Reece to make that happen now.
And just kind of finally a question for you both, really, and you've kind of really answered it during the interview, but kind of Reece, to start with. I know you spoke to the rugby paper after that win on the opening day of the season against Preston. You said, look, we want to be knocking on the door of that top four, but I think a win on Saturday against Hull Ionians will get you back into the top half of the table. So what are kind of the aims and aspirations kind of for this final third of the season, really? Is it to keep doing what you're doing at home and, as you said before, pick up 1 or 2 away wins and see where you are come the end of April?
Yeah, exactly that. Obviously, we're gonna focus on our home games. We've got 6 home games, so we want to try and win all of those. We know, like with our young team, what the AGP offers us as a platform to play in terms of how we like to play. So we want to utilise that as much as possible. And then, like you said, yeah, there's a couple of away games that we've picked out that we think we can go away and get the points there. But again, it's just keep ensuring that we keep learning, we keep evolving each week, and if we do that, and I mean, what's been fantastic is the buy-in at training, and myself and Fordy are constantly challenging our players, and their attitude to training is outstanding, and we're seeing that development now. It's obviously it's not going to be quick, but we are seeing that incremental change in their approach to game days, how they're managing those last 20 minutes out, those golden patches in the pitch. So yeah, it's just the ability now for the boys. Obviously, I'm quite a bit of a hands-on coach, and I'm learning as well now to kind of try and just start taking lax the reins a little bit, take a step back, and start giving some of our leaders the opportunity to really take control of the pitch and in training and stuff. And they're showing me now the ability to do that, which is good. It means that they're kind of obviously taking on board the work that's been done and what we're trying to implement as coaches. So yeah, real exciting time these last sort of 10 weeks. And then I suppose the ideal goal is to again finish top half, try and chase down Fylde and Wharfdale, get in amongst there, and then review things end of season. That's the ultimate goal. Yeah,
I'd echo that entirely. I'd perhaps add that I think we've got a real opportunity between now and the end of the season to put a marker down. Not so much for this season because we are where we are, but I think we've got an opportunity to put a marker down for other people, for other clubs, for other players to look at us and go, yeah, I think they're on the right lines. Let's go and talk to them.
And I guess just finally to you, David, it's exciting to have kind of 6 home games between sort of the start of February and the end of April as well, so people can get down to Hare Lane, see what Chester Rugby Club is all about, and get involved with the centenary celebrations.
Absolutely, and with my chairman hat on with the money bit, that's always good for us. Obviously, a home game. We do enjoy seeing a very busy bar, and we do have a busy bar. It's a vibrant club. There's no doubt about it. And the more people who come down and witness that, the better. So yeah, 6 home games. That's great.
So a huge thanks to both Reese and Dave for their time this week. As you can hear, they are so passionate and very excited for what Chester could be building over the next few years. And they, more often than not, when they have been in National 2 North, they finished in the top half of the table. And those who can remember, only a few years ago, they nearly gained promotion to National 1 in 2019, but were picked in the old school playoff by Canterbury on that occasion. But right here, right now, collectively, Chesterfield, they can take steps forward, and they'll certainly want to do that in the final third of this season and mark their centenary year with a few more victories. And just on the centenary year again at Chester, just a few more events coming up at the club. Just to read a few of them off my notes here. 3 events in May in particular: the Past Players Charity Game, the Charity Sportsman's Lunch, and the Centenary Ball as well. So 3 events to look forward to towards the end of this season and at the end of this season as well. And I'm sure further details around all of Chester Centenary plans can be found on their website as well as the club's social media channels. And why not join in those centenary celebrations by getting yourself down to Hare Lane this Saturday afternoon to watch Chester in action against Hull Ionians. And that is one of 6 games this weekend in National 2 North, alongside Billingham versus Fylde to begin with. 4th place Fylde returned to winning ways last time out as they beat Hull Ionians 31-27 at Woodlands, and they'll make their 2nd trip to Billingham on Saturday. That's because the initial meeting was abandoned at half-time due to the horrendous storm we experienced at the start of December. So Fylde are back in the northeast, seeking a 4th win from their last 5 games. After hosting Lim last week, 13th place Harrogate hosts another title candidate this weekend, with 3rd place Sheffield the latest side to visit the Apollo Capital Stadium. 18 of Harrogate's 26 points this term have come at home, and as we saw last week against Lim, the hosts won't just roll over, even though Sheffield will arrive at Harrogate having won their last 9 games. League leaders Leeds Tigers, who have won their last 7 matches, go to a Hull side who have beaten 2 of the top 5 at home this season. Obviously that win against Wharfdale last week. They also beat Fylde at home earlier in the season as well, so could they upset the table toppers on Saturday? But as we mentioned, Leeds Tigers in very, very good form at the moment. In terms of elsewhere, another opportunity for Sheffield Tigers to continue their steps forward when they host 10th place Preston Grasshoppers, who will also view this as a big opportunity this weekend. Hoppers are 1 place and 2 points above the Tigers, so for whichever side comes out on top, it will be a great way to begin February. And 6th place Tynedale, who came back from 15-10 down to beat Preston 25-18 last week, can take their positive recent record of 1 defeat from their last 8 games into this meeting with 5th place Wharfdale, who will be searching for a first away win since round 2. So that is it then for this week's National League Rugby Preview Show. I hope you enjoyed both the Sale FC and Chester interviews this week. And a big thanks again to our special guest, Josh Matavesi, in the National 2 West segment as well, building up to that big game between Camborne and Clifton on Saturday afternoon. As always, please do show your support if you can by subscribing to our YouTube channel. It is absolutely free to do, just to click that button, because that support does help to boost National League Rugby. And do continue to share and like all of our content on our YouTube channel as well, if you can, and also do the same on our social media channels. And do comment as well on the YouTube videos. Do comment on our social media channels as well. We do love to hear from you. We are starting to think about what might work well for the 2025-26 season, and we know we've had comments throughout the course of this season of what we've done well, what we can do differently, but all of those comments just help with building a picture of what might work for next season. But right now, our attention, of course, is fully on the final third of what is set to be another brilliant end to a National League Rugby campaign. Also, don't forget as well to check out National League Rugby's website for all the latest reviews and the previews. And as we always say, it is the best way to find out all the scores come 5 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon. Of course, only 17 games this week, but all of them have significance on league standings, etc., etc. So do visit our website on Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening to find out what has gone on across National 1 and National 2. And as we always say as well, don't forget to visit talkingrugbyunion.co.uk if you do get a chance. They are massive supporters of National League Rugby. They allow us and the National League Rugby media team to do this every week and focus so much of our time on levels 3 and 4. So do check out talkingrugbyunion.co.uk. They have some good National League Rugby stuff on there, and of course all the build up to the Six Nations as well. But that is it then for this week on the National League Rugby Preview Show. Thanks so much as always for tuning in, and if you are getting your National League Rugby fix this weekend, do enjoy yourselves, and we'll be back with round 18 next week.